All right, welcome to warping. So when would we warp a song? We use warping anytime that we need to change the tempo of a song. Maybe the band is fighting the track, maybe they're a little too slow, a little too fast. You can adjust it in here. Also, we change the key of the song in here. So sometimes we change from a girl's key to a guy's key, or vice versa, or maybe you just need to adjust it one or two down or up. This is where you would do that as well. What I do need to forewarn you about warping is you need to make sure that all of your title parameters are in place before you hit the warp button. I'm going to explain a little bit more about what that means. So for example, I'm using the template that we started from the session build. If you're not familiar with how I got here, I would go back and check out the other video and then step back here. But for now, I want to take Who is Like the Lord, and let's say we need to move it to the key of A. Well, I need to make sure that this information matches this information up here in the top left-hand window. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, maybe you've got 50 beats per minute that are in here right now. If I highlighted the tracks that I needed to warp or change to a different key and then hit warp, it's going to warp them at 50 beats per minute, which is untrue of what the actual tracks are for. These tracks are 86 beats per minute. So you're telling Ableton that these tracks are actually 50 beats per minute. And then from there, it just causes chaos and you'll never recover and you'll have to delete everything and start over anyway. So save yourself a lot of headache and make sure before you warp the track that the information here is also matching the information at the top left-hand corner. Trust me, I've hit this roadblock 100 times and it's not fun. So the way you can do that is select play on the title track.
One.
You'll notice it'll update right here in the left-hand corner for you.
Two.
Once you have this information matching the information that's in your title track, you're good to go. Now we're ready to warp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start highlighting the tracks that I need to warp. One thing that I will say that I've noticed before is sometimes when you click on a track like I did, it doesn't pull up this window down here. Like you'll just see a big gray box. If that does happen, you can double click on any track and it'll pull that up for you. For this purpose, I'm going to double click on the track that's in line with Who is Like the Lord because that's what I want to warp. So when you first warp the tracks, you need to select every track that's in that particular song that you're using. So for this, I need the guide selected. I'm holding down the command button as I do this. Keys. I'm also doing the guitars and the percussion. And then I'm going to come down here to this little area where we can edit it. So 86 beats per minute, 86 beats per minute up here in the top left. I know I'm good to go. Now I can hit warp. Congrats. All the files are warped and ready to be edited. You'll also notice there's a drop down below. Sometimes it'll automatically choose tones. These are just different editing features that Ableton makes available to you. We have found that Complex Pro has the least amount of digitizing, especially whenever you move up or down in a key. You want to have as little effects to the actual tracks as possible. Complex Pro does a really good job of that. So now we're going to go ahead and move it to the key of A. I don't need to move the guide to the key of A, and I don't need to move the percussion to the key of A. It just sounds weird and sloppy. So this is for melodic and harmonic instruments only. So for this song, I only need to choose keys and the electric guitars, and then I can move those to the key of A, leave out percussion and leave out guide. But I know that these tracks are currently in the key of C, and since I need to move them to the key of A, I'm going to use what's down here at the bottom left. This is the transpose option. This is set up in semitones. Basically, that's half steps. So if I'm moving from the key of C to the key of A, if you just walk it down, that's B, A sharp, A. That's 3 half steps, which means that's 3 semitones. So I'm going to bring down those tracks 3 semitones. Right now, we are in the key of A, and you could literally fire it, and we are good to go. So you'll notice
One.
we're in the key of A.
Verse 1.
Sounds pretty good. And this program is actually pretty quick as well. You can move it back to C while it's actually playing. Oh, I didn't have the tracks fired. Hang on, so I'll select them once again. And you can move it up to C. And now we're back to the original key. So you can see how effective it is to do that automatically. However, like I said, just make sure that you select the tracks that only needed to be changed in that key. Here's the other fun side of this. You don't have to select any tracks to change the tempo. So let's say that you guys were wanting to play it a little bit faster. Now you can come back to the title track and adjust the tempo. So this is how you would adjust the tempo. Just hit Command R. That'll allow you to rename the section. Maybe you want to go to 90 beats a minute as opposed to 86 beats a minute, just because you want to speed up the groove a little. Once you do that, it automatically plays all tracks at 90 beats per minute. You don't need to rewarp, you don't need to go back and change anything, because right now, for example, if I hit the keys track, it knows that that track originally is at 86 beats per minute, but I'm telling it that I need them to play that track at 90 beats per minute now. So when I hit play on the master track,
1, 2,
we're now at 90 beats per minute.
Verse 1.
And that's all there is to warping. Essentially, just make sure again that you have these parameters are matching those parameters before you warp. Whenever you're doing keys changes, when you're doing a key change, make sure you select only the instruments that need to actually move for the key change. And then for the tempo, you just right over here in the right hand side, after you've warped, you can just hit Command R, and then that'll change the tempo for you. And then that's all there is.